The Boy Who Invented Numbers. Chapter 11. Attie Ate It. Pilk and Fianna were safely guided by Evan through the dark forest back to the village. Evan was nervous about stepping back into his mother's cave after years of not seeing her, but when he finally plucked up the courage to do it, she greeted him with a scream, and then with tears and laughter and much embracing, and even more tears for what seemed like the rest of the night. It was only when Pilk began yawning that they all realised it had been a long day, and it was probably better if they all went to bed and began a new day in the morning. But no sooner had Pilk and Fianna reached 3 steps from Nina's cave when they heard the great booming voice of Toofer.
"Oi, Pinky!"
Toofer bellowed, swinging his large heavy stick around his head.
"Where is my fruit?"
"Oh no, not Toofer," Pilk groaned. "I was really hoping I didn't bump into him again, at least not yet."
"Have you got my fruit yet?" Toofer boomed. "I am hungry."
"Oh, hi Toofer," Pilk grinned nervously. "I didn't see you there," which was a funny thing to say to someone half the size of a baby mammoth.
"Well, I am here," Toofer went on, "and I am still waiting for you to bring me that fruit."
"But Toofer," Pilk desperately tried to explain to him, "I've escaped being catapulted, thumped and torn to shreds by a hungry bear since I saw you last. I really could do with a break right now."
"Too much talking,"
Toofer said, and he brought his bashing stick down hard on the ground, and they felt the earth tremble beneath their feet.
"I want my fruit now, and Attie wants fruit too."
Attie, Toofer's sister, stepped out from behind him, and though she was not quite as large as Toofer, she always had food on her mind, just like him. "I don't believe it," Pilk cried. "Just pass your stick over here, and I'll just bash myself on the head now and get it over with." Attie wasn't as violent as Toofer, and didn't have a bashing stick like him, but she was more devious. Not the cruel, evil Evie kind of devious, more harmless, well, like Attie. Let me tell you about Attie. Attie wouldn't hurt a fly. In actual fact, Attie was afraid a fly might hurt her. Attie was afraid of everything and anything. Try to think of the cutest, safest and most innocent thing that you can think of. What are you thinking of? Is it kittens? Or fluffy clouds? Or daisies? Let me tell you something. Attie was afraid of all of those things, and a lot more. Silly, isn't it? She was afraid of the wind and the sun, butterflies and falling leaves, and even her own shadow. Attie was afraid of so many things because she didn't understand them, and that they couldn't harm her. But when some people get an idea stuck in their mind, it's sometimes difficult to change them. The only thing that she wasn't afraid of was food. And for someone almost as large as Toofer, she had a surprising ability of popping up when you least expected her, usually when you were cooking food or eating something tasty. For instance, if you were cooking 8 lovely sizzling sausages on a hot stone and you turned around for just a moment, you might notice a passing shadow. But when you turned back and looked down at your sausages again, you would find you only had 6 sausages left. So you would shrug your shoulders and say, "Ooh, I guess Attie ate it." And you might hear a sniggering not too far away. And if you left a nice hot loaf of steaming bread to cool outside your cave for just a few minutes, you wouldn't be surprised if you came back and there was a large bite-sized chunk taken out of it, and the patter of large feet disappearing off into the distance.
"Oh, Attie must have ate it,"
you would guess, and you wouldn't be wrong. The tribespeople had got used to Attie and Toofer always on the lookout for food. So they always kept a little food aside just in case either of them called around unexpectedly, which was fairly often. They had done this ever since Tufa and Attie had lost their parents. Not through an accident or anything like that. They had just got a bit old and unable to keep up with Attie and Tufa's growing appetites. So, one morning, they just weren't there anymore, leaving Tufa and Attie, who were old enough by that time, to fend for themselves, which they did, mainly through the kindness of the rest of the tribe and sometimes with Tufa using his bashing stick.
"Where is our fruit?" I said.
Tufa bellowed.
"We is both hungry, ain't we, Attie?"
Attie just giggled, a silly, shy giggle that sounded more like a toddler than a fully grown Stone Age person, and she usually left it to Tufa to do the talking. "Now, look, Tufa," Pilk pleaded. "I promise I will get you and Attie your fruit tomorrow, when the sun comes up. I can't do it now, it's too dark."
"I want fruit now!"
Tufa let out an almighty roar that sent all the little night creatures running back into their holes, and he started swinging the bashing stick around his head as if he was building up speed. Pilk knew that any second now he was going to be as flat as flatbread. "Wait a moment, Tufa," Fiona cried, stepping bravely out in front of Pilk with her hand raised. "I've got something I think you'll both like."
"Huh?"
Tufa froze like a surprised statue, with his heavy stick poised to marmalise Pilk.
"What has you got? Is it food?"
"I like food," Attie giggled in her silly voice. "It's better than food," Fiona replied, and she held Nina's flute out in front of her.
"What is it?"
Tufa said, baffled.
"It does not look tasty. Why is it better than food?"
"What are you doing, Fiona?" Pilk hissed from behind her. "You're just making me even madder." "It's all right," Fiona said. "I've got an idea this will work." Fiona closed her eyes and gently blew on the flute. As the notes drifted up, everything else seemed to go quiet, as even the fireflies stopped to listen. Tufa and Attie stepped back and clung to each other in surprise and confusion, and looked around trying to work out where the strange ghostly sound had come from.
"What is it?"
Tufa cried, trembling, while Attie tried covering her ears. Fiona carried on playing, and gradually Attie and Tufa, realising that there weren't any spirits, both sat on the ground and were captivated by the beautiful melody. They swayed gently in time with the music, and then started yawning, and finally they lay down just where they were, and both fell fast asleep. Pilk was astounded. He didn't understand what had just happened. "What did you do?" he whispered to her. "It worked in the forest, so I thought it might work again, and luckily it did," Fiona whispered back. "I just calmed the hungry beasts." Then she put her fingers to her lips to let Pilk know not to make a sound, and they both tiptoed away and went back to their nice, warm beds.